Most people think spiritual battles look dramatic. Dark rooms, loud voices, obvious evil. But the truth is, the most dangerous attacks in your life are the ones you don't even notice. They happen in your thoughts, in your habits, in your moments of weakness when no one is watching. And here's what most people miss. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you overnight. He just needs to distract you daily, slowly, quietly, consistently. But there's something the Bible reveals that changes everything. There are specific scriptures, not random verses, but targeted spiritual weapons that disrupt that entire strategy. And today, I'm going to show you 3 of them, not just to read, but to use, because these are the ones the enemy fights hardest to keep out of your routine. Stay with me, because the 3rd one, most people underestimate, but it has the power to completely shift your life. Number 1, the scripture that breaks internal attacks. Let's start with where most battles actually happen. Not outside, inside, negative thoughts. Doubt, fear, comparison, self-sabotage. You wake up fine, and within minutes your mind is already against you. But here's what most people think. They think those thoughts are just them, just personality, just mood, just stress. But the Bible reveals something deeper. 2 Corinthians 10:5 says, "We take captive every thought and make it obedient." Take captive. Not observe, not accept. Take captive. That means not every thought deserves access to your mind. But here's what most people miss. If you don't control your thoughts will control you. And once your thoughts shift, your decisions follow. Your emotions follow, your life follows. This is why this scripture is dangerous to the enemy. Because it teaches you something he hopes you never realize. You have authority over what stays in your mind. Not every thought is truth. Not every feeling is direction. When you start using this daily, something changes. You stop reacting and start filtering. You stop believing everything and start questioning. And suddenly, your inner world becomes quieter, stronger, more stable. Because the enemy can't control a mind that refuses to agree with him. Number 2, the scripture that destroys fear before it grows. Fear is subtle. It doesn't always feel like panic. Sometimes it feels like hesitation, like overthinking, like delay. You feel called to move, but something holds you back. And most people think, I just need more confidence. But confidence is not the solution. Truth is, 2 Timothy 1:7 says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind." Read that carefully. Fear is not from God. Which means, every time fear is leading your decision, you're being guided by the wrong source. That's uncomfortable, but it's also freeing. Because it means fear is not your identity, it's interference. And here's what changes everything. When you recognize fear as something external, you stop submitting to it. You start confronting it. You stop saying, I'm just scared. And you start saying, this is not from God. That shift is powerful, because fear loses its authority the moment you stop agreeing with it. But here's what most people miss. Fear grows in silence. The longer you let it sit, the louder it becomes. That's why this scripture is meant to be used daily, spoken, repeated, internalized. Because when truth becomes your default response, fear stops being your default reaction. And the enemy loses one of his strongest tools. Number 3, the scripture that protects your direction. Now this is the one most people overlook. Not because it's complicated, but because it's simple. And simple things are easy to ignore. Proverbs 3:5 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." Most people read that and move on, but they don't realize what it's actually saying. It's not just about trust. It's about surrendering control. And that's where the real battle is. Because your understanding feels safe, predictable, logical, comfortable. But God's direction often doesn't. It stretches you, challenges you, moves you into uncertainty. And here's what most people do. They follow God until it stops making sense. Then they go back to control, back to overthinking, back to trying to figure everything out. But here's the deeper truth. Leaning on your own understanding is the fastest way to miss God's direction, because you'll choose what feels right instead of what is right. This is why the enemy hates this scripture, because if you actually live it, you become unmanipulatable. You stop being driven by fear, by logic alone, by pressure. You start moving by trust, and trust removes hesitation. It removes second guessing. It removes the need for perfect clarity, because you're no longer relying on what you can see. You're relying on who is leading you. And that changes everything. Now let's step back for a moment, because here's the pattern most people never realize. These 3 scriptures target 3 core areas. Your thoughts, your fears, your direction. That's not random. That's strategy. Because if those 3 areas are compromised, everything else follows. But if those 3 areas are protected, your life stabilizes. You think clearly. You act boldly, you move correctly. And here's the part nobody talks about. You don't need more information. You need more repetition. Because transformation doesn't come from hearing truth once. It comes from living it daily. Speaking it daily, applying it daily. That's why these scriptures matter. Not as inspiration, but as weapons. So here's what I want you to do. Don't just remember these, use them. When a negative thought shows up, take it captive. When fear tries to guide your decision, reject it. When confusion clouds your path, choose trust. Simple actions, but powerful shifts. Because spiritual strength isn't built in big moments. It's built in small, consistent ones. And here's the truth you need to hear before you leave this video. The enemy is not afraid of your potential. He's afraid of your consistency. Because potential is harmless without action. But daily obedience, that changes everything. So if this opened your eyes, I want you to do one thing. Comment one word below, armed, because that word means something. It means you're not just listening anymore. You're applying. And the moment you start applying, everything begins to shift. Stay consistent, stay aware, and most importantly, stay aligned.